The Honourable Speaker, Honourable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Ministers, Leader of the Opposition, Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, those following the proceedings from home and abroad. The topic this morning is something that's closer to heart and close to the people of Fiji. I'll be speaking on the strengthening of iTAUKEI rights and the institutions anchored in the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. Mr. Speaker, sir, a law may be written in a matter of days, debated in a matter of hours, and passed in a matter of minutes. But its consequences can be felt for generations. This is why when we speak about the laws that affected the iTAUKEI people, we are not simply talking about legislation. We are speaking about land. We are speaking about culture, identity, and tradition. We are speaking about institutions that have carried the voice and the interest for iTAUKEI people. And ultimately, we are speaking about confidence. Confidence that law will listen to the people it governs, protect what is entrusted to them, and provide a fair foundation for those who come after us. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise today to update this August House on a matter that touches the conscience of our nation. Between 2007 and 2022, close to 30 laws were introduced through proclamations, decrees, and subsequently acts of parliament affecting matters of significance for the iTAUKEI people. Of those 26 laws that have been specifically identified for review because they bear directly on the iTAUKEI land, resource, trust funds, and traditional institutions. 26 laws may appear at first glance to be simply a number, but behind every one of those laws are people. Behind them are landowners, families, villages, and institutions. Behind them are questions of land, identity, culture, tradition, and representation. And behind them is something even more important: confidence in the law and in the institutions that make it and administer it. The question before us, therefore, is not simply how many laws can be repealed, amended, or replaced. The more important question is, how do we address the legitimate grievances of the past without creating new injustice for the future? Mr. Speaker, sir, that is the responsibility this government has undertaken. It requires us to acknowledge our history honestly, listen to the concerns of iTAUKEI people respectfully, and undertake reform with the care and constitutional discipline that matters of land, culture, identity, tradition, institution, and fundamental rights demand. The historical context. Mr. Speaker, sir, the laws introduced during the period of 2007 to 2022 reach into the areas at the very heart of iTAUKEI life, including land, natural resource, trust funds, provincial and traditional institutions, and representation in this very parliament. A number of these measures were introduced without the level of consultation that the Bunu expected and considered necessary. We should acknowledge that history, but acknowledging history should not be about assigning blame for its own sake. It should be about understanding what happened, recognizing the concerns that remain, ensuring that the lessons of that period inform the decision we make today. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Supreme Court's opinion on the 29th of August 2025 provides an important constitutional context for this discussion. The Court considered the circumstances surrounding the development of the 2013 Constitution, including the comparatively brief consultation process that preceded its adoption, following the setting aside of the last guide draft, which had emerged from a more extensive nationwide consultation process. The significance of this history is not merely academic. The Constitution is the framework within which our institutions operate and through which the rights and responsibilities of people are protected. When the process through which laws and constitutional arrangements are developed has left communities feeling unheard or excluded, government has the responsibility to listen and consider what can be done to strengthen confidence in our democratic institutions. The grievances raised by chiefs, provincial councils, landowner units, and members of the UNWA are real. The Siromi Turaga, the Great Council of Chiefs, and the preeminent institution of iTAUKEI governance was suspended in 2007, and its statutory foundation was subsequently removed by decree in 2012. The legislative framework governing the iTAUKEI Land Trust Board was amended by decree 5 times between 2009 and 2011. And the dedicated communal representation that had provided for the iTAUKEI voice in this parliament was abolished under the electoral decree of 2014. These matters are not simply historical footnotes. They continue to inform how many iTAUKEI view the relationship between their communities, the institutions, and the state. This government therefore believes that they must be addressed with honesty, respect, and responsibility. Mr. Speaker, sir, the People's Coalition Government approach to this matter is firmly anchored in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, what is commonly known as UNDRIP. The Declaration recognizes, among other things, the rights of indigenous people to self-determination, to free, prior, informed consent in decisions affecting their land, their territories and resources, to maintain and serve their own institutions, and to seek redress where appropriate for historical wrongs. For this government, these principles are not simply words reserved for international forums. They provide an important standard against which we should consider our own laws and institutions. The implementation of these principles must take place within the constitutional and legal framework of Fiji. The task before government is therefore not simply to remove legislation, to ensure that legal framework we establish fair, workable, constitutionally sound, and capable of serving the generations to come. My office has therefore applied this principle in reviewing the 26 laws identified from 2007 to 2022, period as having a direct bearing on iTAUKEI land, resource, trust funds, and traditional institutions. Where appropriate, government has already acted, and where work remains, that work continues. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me set out clearly what has already been achieved. Since 2023, this government has tabled 124 bills, enacted 108 acts of parliament, representing an enactment rate approaching 87%. Of the 26 laws identified, 9 have already been directly repealed, amended, or superseded. These are not merely legislative statistics. They represent the concrete steps taken to review and, when necessary, change the legal framework inherited by this government. The Media Industry Development Appeal Act 2020 repealed in its entirety the decree that had restricted public reporting and debate on matters including iTAUKEI land, qoliqoli, and grievances concerning the Siromi Turaga for well over a decade. The iTAUKEI Land Trust Amendment Act 2023 and the iTAUKEI Affairs Amendment Act 2023 restored parliamentary ownership and oversight of the legislative framework governing the iTAUKEI Land Trust Board, the iTAUKEI Affairs Board, and provincial administration. The State Land Amendment Act 2023 revisited the state lands regime as it had operated following amendments made during the decree period of 2011 to 2018. The High Salaries Commission Act 2023 re-established an institution that had been abolished by decree in 2011, restoring an independent mechanism in relation to senior public appointments. The Local Government Amendment Act 2023 and the Local Government Act No. 2 of 2023 brought municipal governance, including matters affecting native land boundaries, back under appropriate parliamentary scrutiny. The Forestry Act 2025, Mahogany Act 2026, replaced decree or legislative regimes governing forestry mahogany resources, much of which are now grown on iTAUKEI land, and restored legislative oversight over these important resources. The Sugar Industry Amendment Act 2025 revisited the legislative framework affecting iTAUKEI landowners who lease land for sugarcane production. And the Fisheries Amendment Act 2025 has strengthened the regulatory framework surrounding customary qoliqoli, an issue of long-standing importance to iTAUKEI communities. These measures demonstrate that government's approach is not one of simply making commitments. There has already been tangible legislation action. The reforms currently underway. Mr. Speaker, sir, we recognize that the work is not complete. The Rights of Indigenous Peoples Bill 2025 is presently before the Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights. This bill represents one of the most direct legislative responses to the concerns I've outlined today, and seeks to provide a stronger legal framework for recognizing and protecting the rights of indigenous people of Fiji. The Traditional Knowledge and Cultural Expression Bill is also progressing. The earlier draft has undergone further review and reconstruction, and the Ministry of iTAUKEI is currently providing its feedback on the policy document placed before it April this year. This work is important because traditional knowledge and cultural expression are not simply cultural artifacts. They represent knowledge, practices, identity, and heritage passed from one generation to another. They therefore require legal framework that provides appropriate recognition and protection. Discussions are also actively underway between the Solicitor General's Office and the Ministry of iTAUKEI Affairs concerning the future legal status of the Siromi Turaga. This is an important undertaking. The question is not simply whether the institute should have a legal status. We must also consider its composition, its functions, its relationship with other institutions of the state, and its place within a constitutional framework. that require careful consideration and genuine engagement with Vanua. The constitutional reform process. Mr. Speaker, sir, I also wish to update this House on the work of the Constitutional Reform Commission. The Commission established in the wake of the Supreme Court's opinion completed its nationwide public consultation on the 10th of July this year, and is now finalizing its report for submissions to Excellency the President on the 31st of August 2026. This is a significant national process. It has provided Fijians across the country with the opportunity to express their views on the Constitution and the constitutional arrangement under which our country is governed. As Mr. Speaker, Section 159 and 60 provides for a demanding process for constitutional amendment, including the required parliamentary majority and approval through referendum. That threshold is important. It means that fundamental changes to our constitutional framework cannot be made simply because one government has the numbers to do so. Constitutional reform must be supported by a broad and considered national consensus. The work of the Constitutional Reform Commission is therefore not a delay to reform. It is part of the process through which that national consensus can be built. I anticipate that the reasonable question that members of the House and members of Parliament may ask is why there has been a delay in repealing these decrees. The answer is one of responsibility, Mr. Speaker. These laws do not exist in isolation. They interact with the land tenure, trust administration, licensing arrangements, commercial relationship, and other legal rights upon which individuals, families, land-owning units, cooperatives, and financial users have relied for many years. A wholesale repeal without appropriate transitional agreements could create legal uncertainty. It could affect existing land arrangements, trust distributions, lease licensing arrangements, and other rights and obligations that have developed under the existing law. It is important that we recognize who could ultimately bear the consequences of that uncertainty. It could be the very landowners, families, and communities whom this reform have intended to protect. This government will therefore not trade one injustice for another. We must correct what requires correction, but we must do so in a manner that protects legitimate interest and avoids creating new legal difficulties. There is another reason why we must proceed carefully. The very history we are seeking to address provides us with an important lesson. If legislation affecting the rights and interests of institutions of iTAUKEI was previously introduced without sufficient consultation, then it would be inconsistent for this government to respond by imposing new reforms without meaningful or prior consultation. We must not repeat that process that contribute to the grievances we are now seeking to address. That is why the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Bill, the Traditional Knowledge and Cultural Expressions Bill, and any future legislation concerning Torang are being developed through an engagement with the Ministry of iTAUKEI Affairs, Landowning Units, and the Vanua. We are not simply seeking to change laws. We are seeking to build confidence in the laws that replace them. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to make a point very clear. Deliberate does not mean delayed, and a careful process is not an inactive process. The government legislation program provides a clear pathway from policy development to Solicitor General's office vetting, to ministry consultation, to standing committee consideration, and ultimately to Parliament. That process is underway. The Rights of Indigenous Bill is before the Standing Committee on Justice, Law and Human Rights. The Traditional Knowledge and Cultural Expression Bill is undergoing active ministry consultation. Work concerning the future legal status of Turanga is progressing between Solicitor General's office and the Ministry of iTAUKEI. And the Constitutional Reform Commission is finalizing its report for submission by the end of this month. These are tangible milestones. They demonstrate that the reform program is progressing. The standard we must set. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is sometimes an assumption that the speed at which legislation is passed is the best measure of a government's commitment to reform. I respectfully suggest that it is not. The better measure is whether the reform is properly considered, whether the people affected have the opportunity to be heard, whether the resulting law is constitutionally sound, where it can operate effectively in practice, and perhaps, most importantly, whether it will endure. Because legislation that is passed quickly but later creates uncertainty, division, or the need for future correction cannot necessarily be described as successful reform. Our responsibility is not simply to respond to the grievances of today. It is to ensure that the decisions we make today do not become the grievances of tomorrow. This is particularly important when we are dealing with land, traditional institutions, cultural knowledge, natural resources, and constitutional arrangement. These matters extend beyond Parliament and one government. They affect generations. Mr. Speaker, this government is inherited a body close to their laws, introduced between 2007 to 22 that affect iTAUKEI people. We have three further areas of significant reform actively progressing: the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Bill, Traditional Knowledge Bill, Cultural Expressions Bill, and the work concerning the future legal status of Siromi Turaga. These are important steps. Legislative reform should not be measured simply by the number of acts passed, it should be measured by whether those laws improve people's lives. These will strengthen the confidence in our institutions and provide a fair, stable, and enduring framework for future generations. For the iTAUKEI, this means ensuring that their land, their culture, the traditional knowledge and institutions, and the legitimate interests are properly recognized and protected within the legal framework of Fiji. For every Fijian, it means ensuring that our laws are developed through processes that are transparent, participatory, and constitutional, and that respects the rights and dignity of all. The government therefore remains committed to completing this work, Mr. Speaker, sir. We will continue to engage meaningfully with the Vanua. We will continue to work through the institutions of democracy. We will continue to uphold the principles reflected in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. And we will continue to ensure that the reform is undertaken carefully, lawfully, and with the objective of delivering outcomes that endure. Mr. Speaker, sir, history gives us lessons. The responsibility of this Parliament is to learn from them. We cannot change the past, but we can decide what we do with these lessons. We cannot choose consultation over imposition. We can choose inclusion over exclusion. We can choose lasting reform over temporary solutions. And we can choose to build laws and institutions that future generations can inherit with confidence. This is the responsibility before us. This is the work of this government is committed to completing. Mr. Speaker, sir.